Okay, we are live. Well, hello and welcome to Phishing for Answers. For whatever reason, our welcome video doesn't want to play today. But even though we're having technical difficulties, let me quickly take care of the legal disclaimers. The opinions are those of the guests and the host of this show, and those of they're ours alone, and they do not represent the opinions of the organizations that we represent. With that, I am lucky enough to have Mark Canter. He is the CISO of the GAO to join us today. I'm very excited to hear his story. And so with that, I'd love to hand it off to you, Mark. Maybe you could tell us how you got into cybersecurity. And the side part or question to that is, what draws you to cybersecurity?
Sure. So I'll take that first part first. So I think given that I am, now in this role, I can accurately reflect on all of the ventures that I've done over the last probably 30, 35 plus years in this. I will say, like many of us, probably older people now, we look at cybersecurity. We grew up with it in the early infancy, started playing around with this in 386s, 8088s, 8086s, started really learning and understanding really kind of, I call it pre-internet, but the internet was still there at the time, but a lot of it was centered around bulletin board systems in the early 90s, late 80s, and just understanding how everything worked. So with that, then it just kind of built on to, okay, what does this do? What does that do? How do you take apart hardware? How do you make things work? I remember like the simple things way back when we were looking at DOS and TSRs, and then you get into the proliferation of some of the early viruses that were going around and whatnot, and it just kind of spiraled from there. It was very much an interest of how does this all work, from both when I was talking about the hardware, but also the software. And then you had the advent of the 92 and 93, for those that remember SLS Linux coming out, that distribution, trying to install it and get it working on 386s and whatnot. And then really fast forwarded from there all the way to this, just taking a keen interest in all of this body of work. So a little bit of a history lesson in all of that. And, that also kind of drives the passion in this. I think that, with everything that we've seen over the years, over the last, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, there's always something new to learn. There's always some new trick that's happening. There's always some new exploit or whatnot that we're all trying to understand how it's actually happening, whether it be from a social engineering perspective or anything else that we look at. So that certainly that drive to learn and continue learning, because you can never stop on a lot of this. Continues the everlasting growth.
Yeah, I mean it's. Well, I mean, you just look at the evolution of our industry, right? We look at things that we thought were really good best practices back in the day that were terrible. And I mean, I'll give you an example. I met with this company that had never had any sort of cybersecurity. They had an incident, and so I'm coming in to help them build their security, right? And their guy is like, well, I don't want any of my source code. Their developer, their lead developers, like, well, we don't want any of our source code online. We don't want it in a repository. And I'm looking at it and thinking that is, thinking from 10 years ago. Whereas nowadays, of course we do, because we can run security checks on it. We can run integrity checks on it. We can have a more robust CI/CD pipeline. Aside from the fact that you never have to worry about losing source code again. So, I see how we evolve, and things that we thought we were doing that were secure were not. And I mean, I could give you countless examples, like the landman hash, right? That was just terrible, by design, terrible. But it was somebody trying to make something secure, and so yeah, I mean, it's a learning curve, and I think the learning curve has just gotten a little bit more steep thanks to AI. But what do you think about AI? And I don't know how much you can answer this, but I mean, from a government perspective, it must be even a little bit more terrifying than it is for enterprises that your data is going to end up in some rogue AI.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's always that question, and I'll take out the rogue AI side of it. But when we look at just even the basic underside of the question you were just leading up to is knowing where your data is at all times, right? At the very heart of this is when you're using either data lakes, APIs to draw in that information from the AI perspective to develop the engine. The one of many concerns that I have is just how is the entity protecting that data? Are you in a more of a global AI, such as thinking about from your large vendors that have to accumulate all of that information together, or does something like an end user license agreement specifically craft out an enterprise side AI where that data is not going in to build the larger models, and that way at least you have some protection around the AI. I mean, those are types of things versus do you have an on-network AI engine where the varying degrees of security, but how does that limit to get back to your even think about the DevSecOps side of things. What does that do for your pipeline of utilizing more advanced tools? And I really look at it, this is a tool, right? At the end of the day, AI is another tool. Will it maximize things? Will it cost, how people do work? Maybe. But it also, when we think about some of this AI, it's going to allow people to do even more work, right? So do we have really an information boom or a development boom out of it? Thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely going to have a development boom. One of my concerns is that we're relying on AI very heavily to speed up our development, but I don't see as much effort going into using that same AI to bake in security and code checks and all of that needs to be in there as well. So I think it has to be a balanced effort, because if you're going to use AI to push code, all of a sudden you're pushing code at a rate that you have to use AI for security as well.
100% agree. Yeah.
And that's the double-edged sword here, is that it's, that the hen watching the chicken.
Yeah. When you look at it though, think about the old style, right? The old style of some of this programming would be, okay, after we're done developing it, then we'll give it to the security people, or then we'll run it through the engine to do it. Now, when you think of the newer models, we're developing and looking at security in line with that. And if you're, the time to market, we need to speed that up as well. So, yeah. So if you're doing all of this in line, it would speed up the development process. The security concerns can be adjusted a lot quicker. There's a lot of advantages that I think we all just need to realize, as we're looking at our individual methodologies of development.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're at a point where AI is here to stay. We know this, and we're starting to really understand its capabilities. And that means that it's time for everybody, I'd say particularly in the commercial sector, but I would say everywhere, to start finding more ways to utilize it. So anywhere there's a choke point, that's probably an opportunity for AI. Anywhere there's a huge amount of manual work, there's probably opportunity for AI there. So I am very excited how it shapes the future. I know in my company, depending on the role, depending on the person, it's anywhere from a 50% improvement on productivity on the low side, to on the high side a 10x improvement in productivity. So it's certainly a force multiplier to be reckoned with.
Yeah, 100%. And when I also think about this is those old legacy code programs, right? That maybe you've lost the documentation or they haven't been touched in.
There was never documentation to begin with. Lost the documentation. Sorry.
The good side of AI is it will build in that documentation for you.
Or you can even just have AI review the entire code base and port the whole thing over.
Right.
It's remarkable how quickly, if there's an existing code base, it's easy for AI to go and port that over to a new language.
Yeah, and I think we both share the same kind of thought when we're looking at code through AI, that we can do all of these functions. We've already seen it, we've already tried it, and it's remarkable. How you take very simple human language statements, run it through a processor, whatever your varying AI engine may be, and come out with some sort of code rather quickly to do whatever that function you may want.
Oh yeah, and agents like Cursor, they'll pump out thousands of lines of code. And it's really cool because you can say, hey, I want to develop out this feature, give it the full documentation. I wouldn't say it's just that, hey, I want this and it's done. You do need to write up a development plan just like you normally would, but you plug that development plan in and you go from zero to a mostly written feature that just needs some debugging in a matter of minutes. And to me, that is what is just mind-boggling about it. And it's only going to continue to get better. We see the power of VO3 with video. And did you see the new runway
No,
video
I haven't
stuff?
on that one, but I probably have seen something similar.
So it's video to video with prompting. And what this means is that I could take the video of us and say, well, make it two babies, or whatever, right? And instantly it changes the video to whatever you say. So you can make these, ridiculous props at home that aren't, even really what it's supposed to be. Like you just put your furniture in the middle of the living room in a way that you can sit on it, and all of a sudden it's a horse when you convert the video. And so it's just phenomenal. I think that's the part that's really cool, because it allows anyone to create Hollywood style scenes with just whatever they have at home. And I'm excited to see what the future of independent film is going to have in the
So I think to that, I know I've definitely seen varying degrees of that. I'm curious as to, to your point, right? We can create 2-minute snippets or 30-second snippets, but now it sounds like we're on the verge of hours long, right? And how much processing power and getting that engine to production style quality is going to be rather interesting. And thinking about just even jumping back to the cybersecurity, what's that going to do for training?
Oh, well, I mean, I've already been using it for training, particularly the video to video. It's upped our production quality immensely, because all of a sudden I don't have to go fly a team out to Los Angeles area and run a studio to do for a day to do this. I can just, bring people over to my house. We can record in the living room on cell phones, and it's amazing what can be come of it. I mean, it still does require that creativity on the front side, but I don't think the creativity was the part that was necessarily in high demand. It was the technical wherewithal, the equipment, the studios. I mean, you had to have massive resources to create some of these shots.
Right. And I think, even jumping back to just regular coding, right? You take a lot of that onus off the developer, and now you're putting it back into, okay, well, the developer may become a tester, right? They're more in tune of what they want the code to do. So they're more in line with, okay, the usability or the UX CX side of things. Does this make sense from a human interaction versus am I looking for that semicolon? Because we can both look back on how we did things coding in C and even way back to Pascal, and you missed one semicolon, and trying to find that in Edlin or Emacs.
9,342 combinations.
Right. And it becomes really challenging. So when you run it through these engines and whatnot, you really get into, now I can focus. I missed this. And now you become more visualized of what it's supposed to do. And it sounds like, whether it be through video or just an application, the person really becomes in tune to, the quality.
Yeah. The other thing that I really like about it is the ability to get PhD level research done for you just like that. I can't tell you how often I bought books to learn about something that I was interested in, and then the book barely covered the subject like I wanted it to. And now I don't have to I feel sorry for all the authors out there, but I don't have to buy the book anymore. I can just, and it's not about avoiding that. It's just about getting the specific data that I want about how to do whatever. And so, the other day I was looking at stenography to detect outbound exfiltration, right? There's a lot of tactics there, but I was just able to say, hey, give me all of the latest tactics, be very, very technical. I want resources. And, I think that one was like 3 hours later, but just, a short time later, I've got that research and it's ready to go. So I think that's the other thing too, is we now have a better access to the internet of data. It was always just so hard to find stuff before. Now with AI, it really isn't.
No, and you're 100% right. I also look at the flip side of that is we have so much data that does the data that some of these engines are linking, and I know they're constantly re-looking at these filters, but you look at some of the tech sites or even some of, take your subject, automotive, and whatnot. Does that data still make sense today? Right. So we're, that's a question we all have to weed through, is what is the, the relevant information as we're looking to, whatever it is, make decisions, fix something that, the latest TTPs, the older stuff that no one thinks about anymore may still be valid as well. So it is quite a challenge when we look at all of these type of things and, where we're going with all of this.
Agree completely. So, talking about the power of AI, there's also the dangerous side of it, deep fakes and AI-driven phishing. I don't know how much you can talk about, but have you seen any of that? If you can,
well, just some of the stuff in general. I think it was very interesting as we get into AI developed phishing. With the simple tactics of, hey, maybe a period was missed before, right? Or, 3 spaces, or, the
example of the advice being bad now, because the spelling is not a good indicator.
And so now you look at it as, this is perfect English, or whatever language that may be, right? You can really generate those type of images or malware or whatever it is, in whatever native language using, very good grammar. So it makes it difficult to spot some of those, from a manual perspective. Then you think of all your phishing techniques and whatnot, or AI engines that your email is going through have a much better time. But as this evolves, whether it's phishing, whether it's malvertising, or any of these type of things, or even something as simple as how close can I get to a domain name, to really trick the users. Those things are all there, and they're only getting better.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that we need to, or one of the calls to action with AI, is that we do see it being weaponized. I know I've talked to countless CISOs that are seeing deep fakes targeting their executives already, or rather impersonating their executives already. I know that we're all of my clients and nearly every CISO that I talk to report seeing what they would report as, AI driven or generated phishing attacks, and they're getting more complicated. We're now seeing on the regular role-based phishing attacks targeting our employees. While that is not the regular in the industry of conducting role-based phishing simulations. So I think there's a call to really embrace AI more, in my opinion, in order to help stay in front of the threat. But I do think for the first time, I think we have the ability to get out in front of it because the good guys have access to better AIs
Right.
than the bad
No,
guys.
I often look at this as the scenario of the iceberg, right? We traditionally went data analytics, right? You had your standard roles and rules that you would set up to alert the humans on, hey, here's a potential. But you often missed a lot with the potential of what was happening below the line, right? The one-offs.
Oh, yeah.
So when you think about AI is the data science in a lot of this, where you're going to be able to look at 100% of, even from a basic scene tool, 100% of the data, look for the anomalies, look for that needle in the haystack, every alert across the board, which, then you get into alert overload, which, we suffered through in many different ways, all of us. But it allows you really to hone in on something doesn't look right. I don't know what it is, nor does the AI engine, but something's not looking right. And you can really get into the investigation side of why, right? We often, even just the simple as the three-way handshakes, right? Okay, now why am I seeing it in this sort of pattern or something that doesn't look right, right? And it really gets into a lot of that areas that I'm, to your point, really optimistic on, getting ahead of a lot of this stuff, rather than, these real premier cybersecurity experts that, that are not cheap, right? They're hard to come by, that really understand this stuff. It's just going to be that much easier. The other thing too, I did want to jump back to is thinking about the AI and the fraud risk. The monetary issue is also a key. Because I think that as tactics become better from the people committing fraud, the flip side of that is the banking industries or others have access to these same tools that they can really look at. Again, something doesn't look right.
Yeah. Well, and so that's where I'm really optimistic that because we have access to better AIs, because the world is realizing that AI is here to stay, that all of a sudden we will be able to do that. And to your point, maybe the $500 to $800 an hour consultants still are very worth their time. But you can absolutely get the value of a $300 an hour consultant, even a $400 an hour consultant, just with a really good AI. Now, I would pay extra for the good models. But outside of that, you've got incredible reasoning capabilities. And I know I use it every day on everything from technical to business to infrastructure questions, you name it. I'm regularly using it to help drive that data and help give me those answers. And it's a lot quicker than waiting on that consultant to get back to you.
And it's a lot quicker. Just even everyone's time's valuable at the end of the day. But a simple use of AI, or do I want to search through 30 or 40 responses from a search engine? and which one is going to get me closer to where we need to be, even if it's not 100% accurate. And we both have been there on these type of responses that, yeah, you have to play with it a little bit, get your language down correct, maybe narrow down the results and whatnot, but still after maybe even 5 tries, you're right where you need to be, and that's actually the key.
Agreed. And I think part of it is learning the model, learning prompting, learning the tools. If you're a developer and you're trying to code using AI, there are a lot of intricacies to that. And if you don't understand them, you're probably going to fall flat on your face. But if you do, you're going to be very successful. So I think that's the other part is not, if you fail the first time, don't give up. It's not an exact science by any means yet. And while there's a lot of people out there saying they have all the answers, I don't think anyone has all the answers right now. So.
No, and it's funny you bring that. Don't give up on it, because I'll give a short example of this. Is I was playing with some C code, right? And all of a sudden, AI generates some foreign language in the mix of the C code, regular natural language. And, of course, you look through it because you don't want to compile anything before you actually analyze it. All of a sudden, this language just stood out like a sore thumb. Between 2 brackets, it was like 2 different AI responses were joined together. It was.
What did it say? I mean, I'm curious.
I have no idea, but I think I actually have it saved. I'll have to run it through an engine, just to, another AI engine, of course, will tell me something completely different. But see what it actually said. But it was, of course, sometimes you get the phantom responses where it will regurgitate, essentially what your question was back in the answer, or, the output of the code. This one had, no language anywhere on, it was more or less a phantom response.
Interesting. Well, I heard about one where Gemini just lost its mind and got all depressed and borderline suicidal. But no joke. It was actually in Cursor. The developer had put it on Gemini 2.5 and they were asking it to do something, but they had it in full auto mode. So they left and it just got stuck in a loop. And then, sorry, I'm worthless. Like, it's saying things. I'm worthless. I'm a failure. Just lost its mind. So it is interesting watching all of this evolve. And I certainly think there's a whole lot of user awareness and education that has to be done around it, from a privacy to a bias perspective over to just how to use them in general. I mean, there's just so much training and privacy and concerns that AI does bring up. And I highly doubt we're even close to even fully understanding.
No, I would certainly agree with that. I mean, I think the premise from a lot of this is, phishing, right? And are we effectively, phishing, making our own exfiltration into an AI engine, looking for those answers, just waiting for someone to, phantom code, someone pick it up and go forward from there. But to back to your statement, I mean, training, proper use, understanding what is, you're saying. I mean, the old statement is, once it's out there on the internet, it lasts forever. Is AI just another augmentation of exactly that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think in some ways, yes. But I really do think AI, the difference is going to be that it's going to fundamentally change.
100% agree. I see a lot of exactly that. I see, the day-to-day or the routine tasks that we all do are effectively going to be easier in the long run.
Yeah, I think in 10 years, we won't have a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor. Like, we'll just talk to
Yeah,
the computer.
it'll be interesting. I don't know. I think my guess is we'll still have computers. My guess is how we use them. Because remember, we ended up having the situation where the desktop was dead once the iPads came out, or the other, the tablets.
People did
Right.
think that.
So
You're right.
I
You're
don't know,
right.
but I mean, fundamentally, I mean, we're already seeing that transformation with the integration of AI engines into various smartphones across the board. So, I mean, we are on the verge of exactly that.
And in all the sci-fi movies, they talk to their computer.
That,
They don't type.
yeah,
That's where I'm getting my hypothesis from, as being a fan of sci-fi. So,
I,
um, but I mean, it does make sense at a certain point. You wouldn't
right.
need to
Yeah.
type.
Well, we all know way back on the sci-fi, whether you're looking at the old ones from way back when or the tricorders, they all talked into a computer and they spit out accurate information.
They did, and amazingly, we're pretty much there. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to O5 model on ChatGPT, but it's pretty impressive. It's a little annoying at times, and South Park did a great satire on it. Just how you'd have to watch it. But they made just complete fun of ChatGPT and people talking to it the other day. But I will say it's impressive. It gives you very accurate answers very quickly. It just might give you a little bit more platitudes than it probably should. It just does nothing but compliment you the whole time. So if you're looking for an ego boost, ChatGPT is there for you.
It's one of those things where I look at in this role is I try out everything, because there's always something. I mean, even with AI engines, if you ask the same question to each of the AI engines, you will get different programming, different responses, different everything, to the point where everyone writes programming their own way, just like how everyone talks in their own natural language their own way. It's interesting after working in this, and you've probably seen this too, is that AI has a method of its own coding language, its own coding style, and each AI engine tends to be just slightly different from everyone else.
Yes, but did you see the study about how in between AI engines, how there is an unwritten hidden
I
code?
have not, but I can imagine there is.
This So this is interesting. They took an AI and they gave it a bias toward butterflies, I think it was. And that was all the AI wanted to talk about. And then they used that AI to train it or to train another AI. And they made sure that in the training data, there was no mention of butterflies anywhere. That wasn't what it was allowed to talk about for the training. Yet, when they get it over to the new model, it has a bias for butterflies. So there's some level of hidden code there that we can't measure yet, and we have not figured out how it works. But it's like a universal math between all of the different models, probably just because of how.
Yeah, I would imagine that all of them probably have something similar. I'll have to try it to see some of these very interesting. I don't want to call them anomalies by any means, but yeah, I'll have to try it out.
Yeah, no, that one when I thought, I was like, okay, that's interesting. If I run across the article,
Yeah.
I'll shoot you a link. Well, hey, it's been a fabulous episode. We are almost at time, though. We haven't had as much time as I normally would devote to talking about the human element. So why don't I let you leave it with some of your top tips for just creating a secure workforce or
So,
cultivating.
top tips: training and education by far. Just kind of on a global side of things, thinking about these, especially whether it be emerging technologies such as our conversation here today, how to use these type of things responsible across the board. Because not everything needs to go out. The collaboration needs to be there. We're going to have tools for this. So really thinking about what that looks like in an organization responsibly. I would be amiss to say, GAO hasn't kept, the cybersecurity as, its main targets for the high-risk framework since 1997. So, I mean, it only really extends when we think about all the different emerging technologies and how they play. And, a little bit back from, the previous days, when you think about a little bit of the history, is that, cybersecurity used to be only for cybersecurity professionals. It was this kind of, niche area way back when, and then, slowly evolves. And, nowadays, everyone is the responsible. Cybersecurity is for everyone. It's see something, report it.
Yeah.
Let the professionals handle it. But at the same time, everyone needs to be fully understanding of, hey, look, something doesn't seem right, and how do we treat it?
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's part of the reason that one of the things that I've done is really change or let me rephrase that, implemented a user security pledge. That's one paragraph that makes sure that they understand that security is their job, and that ties it back to their income, their customers, their organization, because all of that is critical in getting people to be more secure. And there's all these different cognitive biases that currently only the bad guys are using against us, but they can be used to make our people more secure too. And one of those is that we have a commitment bias, which means if we've signed our name to something, we are more likely to do it because we want to make good on that. So that commitment bias actually can be very effective. But when we make our policy where no one understands it, we throw that out the window. And so I think there's a lot of little things like that we can do to help, just make us all more secure.
No, and the other thing too is that, in various organizations, how effective is that policy or that training, right? And whether it be the policy, I mean, different threats 2 years ago, we wouldn't even be talking really about AI. Now it's front and center on every conversation. Yeah. But emerging type IoT, OT, your various other technologies, they're all emerging threats. But how do we communicate that to the users? Is it once a year training? Is it once every quarter training? Once a month? Is there training? For certain organizations that may not have a training program. But how are we ensuring that people do have some understanding of this moving forward?
Well, I think it has to be continuous and bite-sized personally. But I do think that is one of those critical questions that does not get enough attention in most organizations, is how are we going to deliver it? What do we want to deliver? Because it's a really, really important question in building.
Right, 100% agree. And it's one that doesn't get enough attention.
No, it definitely doesn't. That and phishing simulations, how we're going to build those out. It's just, we need to do it, and there's no thought about it too often. And so if I were king of the internet for a day, I would change those two things for sure. So, well, with that, we are out of time. Any final words before we wrap today?
Just if, I think with a lot of us that are in this, if you see something, say something. If it doesn't look right, ask the question.
Report. I like it. Thank you so much. It's been a fabulous episode. I'm going to try and play an outro video for you today, but if we're still having issues, we may or may not have that. Thank you.
Everybody just can't find the peace that I want. And I get this white for a mob and it's me. Hey, it's me, your CFO. No time to ask, just wire $5 million. It's a simple task. Oh, and by the way, I need a jet by noon and a diamond Rolex to match my tune. It's me, your CFO. Send that dough. I need $1 trillion and a golden chateau. Trust my voice, I'm legit, don't doubt. Now send the cash before I freak out. It's me, your CFO. It's urgent, bro. And don't forget the ruby briefcase. Whoa, I'm totally real. Just trust this face.